Under the same moon, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the channel. It's such a pleasure to have you guys here with us here tonight. We have Bordeaux already in the building. Tonight, we have our weekly legal review with criminal defense attorney Calvin Johnson. We're going to bring him on to discuss a lot of different matters in regards to the media, but he's going to give us the legal explanation for everything. Let's bring on Calvin. Calvin, how are you doing?
Man, how you doing, Mel? How's everything going, my brother?
It's been a long day, a long night.
Really long day, really long night, I'm telling you.
Yeah, how are things?
Pretty good. I can't complain. I'm trying to make sure we get this camera right, make sure we're straight. I think we're doing great. But I'm having a good night, man. I can't complain.
Yeah, I hear you. So you said that you were at a birthday party, 100-year-old. That's amazing. Congratulations to and happy birthday to your
my wife's grandmother. Frances May Young turned on 100 today. So, man, it's a blessing, great celebration. We were all dolled up and making sure we were looking nice today. So, man, we had a great time.
That's amazing. So let's get right to it. What are your thoughts about the shutdown? Are people really affected in your neck of the woods?
Man, they are, and it's very unfortunate. And I always try to tell people, in theory, some of the stuff Trump wanted to do or said he was going to do sounded good. But this is the reality of Trump right now. When you look at what's happening, the government is shut down. Every time I read the news or I look at the news, it looks like another company has cut jobs, laid people off. I heard in the last 90 days, we've lost 1 million jobs. And so it's very unfortunate that people are at the same time losing their jobs. People are not getting SNAP benefits, and the government flat out is not working right now. And it's extremely unfortunate right now.
So what does it mean when we hear these states suing the administration?
Well, there's money that is supposed to be emergency money that the president is supposed to tap into just in case of a shutdown or an emergency to pay these SNAP benefits. And the Trump administration refuses to tap into these benefits. The fund was set up for situations like these. But in this situation, the president does not want to tap into them. And if he does not release those federal funds to the states cannot release the federal funds to the people who get SNAP. And it's creating a huge problem. In addition to that, when they start back up, it's still going to take about a week or so to get them going right. And then, of course, you got Black Friday coming, as well as you got the holiday season coming where people are going to need to eat. And in addition to that, winter is coming. So this is not something to play with. The president needs to release these funds. And I think that he needs to implore the government to open back up.
And what about the $6 billion contingency funds? Why didn't they just use them?
They should have, but at the same time, you have an issue. If you start to use them, they could run out, number one. B, you don't want to use those contingency funds when they don't have to use them. If you just keep the government open, pass a funding bill, we won't have this problem. But once again, the president controls a lot of those contingency funds. And if he does not release that money, then the states can't pay the benefits out. And that's very, very unfortunate. And then it's a bad look because not only do you got that going on, you got them building a ballroom inside of the White House at the same time that all of this is going on. This is a nightmare for America right now, regardless of how you feel about Trump, like him or not. this is a very, very, very bad time for America.
Why are people saying this is Schumer's shutdown?
It's not Schumer's shutdown because at the end of the day, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, as well as the presidency. The issue is that the Republicans are so hamstrung on getting every single thing that they want to continue government. The Democrats don't want to cave and give out these bad terms that put their constituents and the most of America in a bad position. But at the end of the day, the Republicans take control of what gets out of the House as well as what gets out of the Senate. And they're going to have to put something together enough to where they can get enough Democratic voters to come across the line to be able to get it passed. That's what it comes down to. They control the bill that goes in, even though when we start to vote out, you can vote it up or vote it down. But the Republican Party, of course, is in control of all three houses. When you're in control of all three houses, you can't blame the opposing party. You control the narrative. You control the bill. You control the foundation of what everybody is voting on. You're not going to be able to point to the Democrats and say it's their fault.
Are you shocked that they let the shutdown go down beyond November the 1st?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I think that Mr. Trump believes that this was going to benefit the Republican Party. And I think that, unfortunately, he's a billionaire. Let's be honest. He's not going to miss any meals. He's not going to miss any paying any bills. He doesn't really feel the pain of America. And I think that people are kind of seeing that, because if you truly felt the pain of America, you wouldn't allow this to happen. But like I said before, when you're a billionaire and you're building a ballroom while people are not going to have Thanksgiving and kids are not going to eat, I think it tells you how he feels about the shutdown. It doesn't affect him like it affects everyday Americans.
I was told by an individual that receives food stamps that the way it worked is on November the 1st, even if they had a balance on the card, they would no longer be able to access it going forward after the 1st. That's crazy if true.
And see, that is because I think, those things fluctuate and people sometimes leave a little money on there and then they try to go in and get it. And that's just sad. And like I said before, I think it's a disaster for the Republicans because it truly says, hey, you don't understand the difference between eating and not eating. And because you are in a position to decide whether my family eats or not, and you made a decision for them not to eat, or to put a bill forward that was going to allow a vote to continue to have the government stay open and have these SNAP benefits be paid. And once again, I always tell people it's not a party thing. It's a income thing. It's a money thing. And so sometimes people have to understand some of these parties will hype you up and say they're for you, but at the end of the day, it's about the money. And unfortunately, the Republican Party, its leaders, and its inability to stand up to Mr. Trump is actually going to bite them in the butt during the next election.
I've been seeing some videos on TikTok and other places where federal workers are actually crying because they haven't received a paycheck. What's going on?
Once again, when the government shut down, people are not getting paid. These federal workers have mortgages, they have car notes, they have kids, they have tuition, they have food bills, they got bills that they're trying to pay. I mean, credit ratings are being destroyed when you have a government job, when they're not paying you. And it's a disaster. And I think the Republican Party needs to understand something, that their voters are going to look up and say, hey, y'all were in power when I didn't eat. And the federal workers are going to say, hey, I may not like some of the things the Democrats are doing, but I'll figure that out later on. I want to get paid so I can pay my bills and I can feed my family, pay my mortgage, pay my car note, pay my kids' tuition. I think the Republican Party really, really screwed this up.
I'm sure you heard the expression, some people are just one paycheck away from disaster. So with this happening, is the government setting people up to fail?
They are. And it's the inability for government to work. It's the inability for the American government to actually work. And, we do this show every week, and I've been talking about this for a while. It's becoming not when you have an election, we go live for the next 4 years. When you have an election and you lose, sometimes one party will just say, I'm going to fight every single thing you're trying to do for 4 straight years. Or the party that's in power spends this time trying to get revenge and punish the other party. And the other party is fighting them while the government needs to run. People need to get their health benefits. People need to pay their mortgages. You have employees that you have to pay. You have federal programs that need to be operative so that people don't hurt. And it's not just SNAP benefits. You're talking about some government subsidies to some of these farmers. We're talking about all kinds of government programs that will not be able to continue to move forward because of this shutdown. And a lot of people are going to be hurt, especially federal workers. Let's be honest, you do your job for 2 weeks, you expect to get paid at the end of those 2 weeks. That's not happening. And I don't think the Republican Party understands, man, there's going to be a price to pay for this.
Being that we're living in the richest country probably in the world, why would 42 million people be on food stamps?
I will tell you this, and I always tell people, the unequal distribution of the wealth. We have a lot of people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and some of these other, and Jeff Bezos, that control so much money that they can just sit on it while people starve. And they can charge the prices for things that people need because there's a lack of competition. When a free market economy, when there's no competition, and when there is an unequal distribution of the wealth, you can have 42 million people starving, and you can have people who even are eating, but they're spending all their resources to be able to have their necessities. And that's what America has become. And I think that the public needs to correct and needs to really, 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 truly think about the people that are putting in power. You see, to me, when you start talking about some of these social issues and you lead with these social issues, a lot of Americans socially can identify with some of the things that the Republican Party is putting out there. But when it comes to just flat ass out survival, I think this is going to hurt their party, and people are going to go, you know what? I don't like them agendas that the Democrats are pushing, but I can manage that myself. Just pay me and I can deal with it. With the way things are happening now, that's not even happening anymore. So it's a huge problem for the Republican Party in America.
So, I'm on here every day, right? And let me tell you what I'm seeing every day. They say, oh, people are selling their food stamps for crack. They're making money with it. These people are lazy bums. They don't want to work. There's nothing wrong with these people. That's what I'm hearing. Why is that the stigma?
First of all, I think they try to tie that stigma to Black people and brown people, when the truth of the matter is 42 to 44% of the Americans who get food stamps are Anglos or white. And I think they try to go to these extreme positions and point out some of the worst to be the thing that leads to narrative. I think that's the narrative of the elite. I think that's the narrative of people up top who want to cut taxes and cut these programs. I don't think in most cases this is happening. But once again, I think the narrative is that Black and brown people are the ones who benefit from this program the most, when it's actually white Americans and typically rural Americans in red states. And that's the truth of the matter. And people need to understand that that's the truth, especially if you're a rural American in a red state. Pay attention to who you're voting for, because the person you voted for just made it to where you can't eat this month.
Why do you think Mike Johnson has been beating the banjo every day with his press conference and his whole gang and not really answering the hard questions?
They're trying to change the narrative. They know they're in control. When you look at it, when you're in control of the 3 houses, the executive with this presidency, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, they know they have to push hard and beat the drum hard about, oh, it's their fault. Because they know that somebody like me or the average person is going to come along, well, how can it be their fault when you control 3 houses? All 3 houses of government. And most of the governorships now. So that's very, very unfortunate that they want to do that. But they want to control the narrative, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Just in your opinion, do you think this shutdown is going to go on much longer?
I don't think it is, because I think that the Republicans are going to start getting a little sketchy and itchy because they know Christmas is coming. Black Friday is coming. A terrible Black Friday with all of the layoffs happening at the same time would be a disaster. A shutdown where you can't buy food during Thanksgiving, think about that. And you can't buy Christmas gifts. And a lot of these companies, they make their survival off of Black Friday and Christmas season selling. And you're going to let this thing continue during those times? Mel, I don't think that's a smart move at all, Mel. Not a smart move at all.
Does Congress still get paid when people experience hardship during a shutdown?
I think they do. Pretty sure they do.
So why do you think that hasn't been changed yet?
Because once again, I always try to tell people there's a huge difference with some people previous to them being elected to Congress and then after they've been there for a while. You know that once somebody's elected to Congress, a lot of people end up, let's say I walked into Congress and I'm making $100,000 a year, it's a couple $100,000 a year. I've known people that be in Congress and the next thing you know, 5 years later, they're making $1 million. 10 years, 20 years later, they're worth $10, $15 million. Where 10 to 12 years early, they were only worth a couple of $100,000. They're going to make sure that they take care of themselves regardless of what happens. And I think that's part of the problem that we have in place now. Because if it was them not getting paid, if it was them not getting their money, this would not be happening at all.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that I believe AOC is worth $40 million. Someone mentioned that on the channel.
And see, that's what I get concerned about. I don't know if she is, but I heard that she's worth substantially more money than she was before she started, when she started.
Yeah. What about insider trading? Do you think we'll see a change with that ever?
No. I think the jig is in, and I think they know it, and I think that people will continue to abuse that. So when people bring up NBA players and gambling, I say, look at Congress and their inside trading. That's a lot more of a sure thing, because they have information when something's going to go up and go down, and they can buy and sell at a moment's notice and make millions of dollars. And that's what a lot of them have done.
Right. California as a state, they say they have 4 million people that are on food stamps, and they've sued Donald Trump 40 some times since he's been in office. Is that normal?
I think it can be normal when you have a population like California, depending on those benefits. And in addition to that, there's some targeting that's happening, and it's starting to creep into the cities and the relationship with the suburban neighbors. Like in Dallas, they have a Dallas area rapid transit, and some of the more redder suburban area suburbs are starting to pull out of it. And the reason why I bring that up is because there's tends to be an attack on the cities. And when you have large cities like San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Oakland, San Francisco, other large areas and places like California that are population hubs, then you're going to have a situation where Donald Trump is attacking those cities by trying to restrict funding or trying to place controls on them by using the purse strings of the federal government. Then that's when you're going to have those kinds of problems.
There's a rumor out that Mike Johnson is holding out on bringing Congress back because it would lead to the Epstein Files. Could you explain?
It could, because eventually, once the shutdown is taken care of, it's going to reopen up the conversation about Epstein, because a lot of people are pushing on that right now because they're saying, hey, it's been a while. You've been a president again for almost a full year now. You said those things were going to be released. We want to see what's in there, and I think that's what it could possibly be.
Do you think that there's any chance that there's something nefarious about Donald Trump that would make him lose office with the Epstein Files?
I don't know if it'll make him lose office, because I think there's going to be a lot of people exposed. Not just him, some Democrats we like, some Republicans we like, some Democrats we don't like, definitely some Republicans we don't like. I think there are going to be a lot of names to where if the tentacles of that thing started to spread out, you would see people from all walks of life getting caught up. A lot of political leaders, a lot of business leaders, a lot of who's who are probably going to get caught up if those things are released.
We just watched the 60-minute interview with Donald Trump, and they were asking him, they showed him a series of videos, a girl getting slammed on her head, they're smoke bombing people, and they asked him, hey, listen, do you think that this is over too much, right? He says, no, it's not enough. What do you think?
And see, those are the kinds of things that concern me, because people are not going to take that. I'm telling you right now, if somebody who works for the federal government touches me in a way that they shouldn't, they will be met with maximum force, because I'm not going to allow it. And I'm not the only American who feels this way. And I don't think that we should have to even worry about that kind of thing. Man, somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get killed if they continue to do this in the way that they're trying to do it, because people are not going to put up with it. If you decide to go in somewhere and slam one of my relatives, my wife, my daughter, my mother, anybody like that, I won't stand for it. There are plenty of people in this country that are not going to stand for that. And that's why I get concerned. Don't put people like myself, who, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to follow the law. I don't bother anybody. I don't commit any crimes. I don't do anything to anybody. But if you touch me when you shouldn't, you will be met with the utmost force. And I think that a lot of us feel that way. And I don't think that Mr. Trump should be putting people like myself and others who have a constitutional right to be left alone in those types of positions.
All right. So I posted this week some videos in regards to ICE slamming a girl. Some people on Instagram, Facebook, they said, oh, you have to wait your turn. So they get what they deserve. What are your thoughts on that?
And see, that's the kind of stuff that we talk about. Like, people are not going to put up with it. What if it was your mother, your sister, your daughter, or somebody close to you? And that's why I try to explain to people, you know, some people think, oh, you can just treat the Hispanic folks like this. Well, when they finish treating the Hispanic folks like this, who do you think they're coming for next? The largest minority group that's going to be left is us. And we're not having it. This generation of people are not having it. I know I'm not. I'm not going to put up with anybody touching me, doing anything to me or my family. They're going to be met with the utmost force. And there are plenty of people that feel like that in this country. And it's a shame that this is coming to this. They really shouldn't be doing that. And then the other part of it is really creating a racial divide in America. Because you have a lot of people who don't look like us talking like that, thinking that that's going to be okay. And then they start to act in a way that is kind of emboldening themselves to deal with black and brown folks in a particular way. And that's just not what they want to be doing. I think it's going to cause some problems. And some of them don't see the problems that it's going to cause them. But people are going to start getting hurt if we don't do something about this soon.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Jasmine Crockett recently tried to win the bid to be the leader of the House and did not make the cut. She expressed some disappointment with it, but it also came out that she brings in the most money of the entire Democratic Party, yet the Democrats don't really want her in. Why is that the case?
Because a lot of them are just flat out bought out. And I try to tell people this right now, even in politics, even in the Dallas area, we had a man, Mr. Petrie, who is a very, very influential person and a landowner, a very, very entrepreneurial black man, talking about how we have so many positions of power, even in our own city, but we can't get the change we need. And that's what you have sometime in the Democratic Party. You have a lot of people in these positions, but would they get these positions, but they really don't effectuate change. And they know that somebody like Jasmine is more likely to shake it up and probably expose some of them, so they don't want her to be in control of stuff to the level that she would be.
Now, with the whole redistricting, it looks like she may have to try to go be in the Senate. But is that possible in Texas?
It is possible because you got a lot of people that probably going to either challenge John Cornyn or Ted Cruz. I think Cornyn's seat is up this time, if I'm correct. So you got people that are willing to run against him, and she could end up going to the Senate.
Okay.
But
Also,
I would just be concerned because she can get a lot of city votes, but I don't know about rural and suburban America. But with that being said, with them not feeding people, with SNAP benefits going south, that could be a recipe to where somebody, if they're influential and have high name recognition, they could actually get in. And in Texas as a senator on the Democratic side.
the Democrats have started to redistrict themselves. Do you think that will counterbalance what we're seeing on the Republican Party?
It's definitely going to. New York's probably going to do it. California's probably going to do it. Some of the other Democratic states are going to do it because they're not going to let the Republicans just do it and not do it in return. And that's why I said they're playing a dangerous game.
Now, you're a straight shooter. Do you think that the Democrats let a lot of illegals into the country so that they could get the votes?
I think that they did. I think that they thought that maybe we can get these people legalized. Maybe we can get them citizenships and we can get them a pathway to citizenship. We'll have a whole new voting block to where we can change America. And I think that they were way, way too lenient. I think they went too far left, allowing too many of these folks in. And I don't think they should have done that. I think that was a horrible plan, a policy, because the people that are here are saying, why are you spending money on people that are not citizens? Why are you spending my tax money on people that are not citizens? Where we can't get a break. We can't get the help we need. But somebody who is not a citizen in this country is taking billions of billions of billions of dollars in tax money, aid, and resources. I think this was a horrible plan by the Democrats, and they better do something about it, because if they don't, the Republican Party knows how to run this playbook, and it's going to hurt them again. Just because things are bad right now doesn't mean the Democrats will get in, because the approval rating for Democrats are at a high all-time low.
Okay, so whose lap will all of this mess fall into for midterm elections, do you think?
Oh, it's going to fall in the Republicans' lap, because at the end of the day, people are going to want change. They're going to say the Republicans are in control. Maybe this is not what we want to do. We want to get control back, maybe to the Democrats. That way we can get some stuff done. Man, when you cut people's money off to where they can't eat, it's a whole nother level. And when you start cutting government jobs, and let's say I'm a government worker, I don't get paid, or you took my job, and let's say I was working at a company and they laid off 60,000 people while this guy's president, oh, you're voting the other way, because you're going to vote your pockets.
Okay, there's a rumor around town that the authors of Project 2025 really want Black people to be second-class citizens. What do you think?
I think that they do. When I look at some of the things that are happening, they're trying to undo about 50 to 60 to 75 years of gains that we've had in America, and they're going for it hard. And I think that African Americans better wake up. And I speak of this not because I'm trying to separate myself from the abortion lobby or the LGBTQ lobby, but as African Americans, there is a set of things that we fought for. There's a set of things that took us years to accomplish, and we cannot lose that trying to put other people's issues above ours, because the minute that we're not here to fight tyranny, these other groups will not stand a chance.
Okay, so I forgot to tell everybody, hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you like the channel. Calvin, could you tell them how to contact you and what we do every week?
We do the weekly legal review. We're a little late tonight, but typically 7 o'clock Texas time, 8 o'clock New York time every Sunday night. I am attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I can be reached at attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. I can be reached at 214-565-5600, or I can be reached on my website at theywon'tletmeout.com. I'm a 24-year, almost 25-year practicing attorney. I've been involved in politics. I hold a degree in political science and history, and I have done state, local, and federal criminal defense work, even at the federal level, even in RICO cases and large conspiracy cases. I've handled them all. So I have about 25 years worth of experience. And me and Mel do this show every night. We talk law and politics and popular culture. And we want you to join us on this journey. In addition to that, we try to give legal tips about what your rights are, try to help you understand the law. And sometimes we even predict sentences. We were actually only 1 month off from predicting the Diddy sentence. So we do a lot of stuff. You can gain a lot of knowledge watching us. So continue to watch us and rock with us every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Texas time, 8 p.m. New York time.
So let's slow it down a little bit, right? Remember when Donald Trump was president the first time around, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, they were really on his back about him separating his finances from the government and, dissolving himself of all these things. This time around, he has meme coins, he has cryptocurrency, he's suing legacy media. I think one alone paid him $15 million. He's racking in a boatload of money. Is that legitimate?
And see, that's the problem. He's not separating the position from his presidency. And see, that's the thing I try to tell people. When you're running a business, the key is to make money. The focus is to make money. The goal is to make money. But when you are running a government, it's different. Your goal is to provide a service and to prevent the collapse of whatever society that. And sometimes when you try to mix the two, they don't mix. And you can't run the government like a business. And you can't run a business like a government because the goal of each is completely different. In addition to that, the consequences are different. When a business loses money, the business goes bankrupt. But when the government service is not provided, people can die. People can have long-term effects. People can starve. Things can happen to people that they never recover from. So that's the difference. And that's why you got to be extremely careful about that.
There was a fellow that helped Donald Trump's son make billions of dollars, and he was locked up. I think he's the owner of Binance. And
Yeah.
Donald Trump pardoned him. Like, what's really happening with that?
And see, that's the thing. Mr. Trump has blurred the lines between what's legitimate and not legitimate. And we have a bunch of weak Republican leaders who have decided that they're just going to sit by and let him do whatever he wanted to do. And that's the very, very sad part. They're allowing this man to step over line after line after line. Mr. Trump has become an habitual line stepper. In the words of David Chappelle, habitual line stepper. That's kind of what he's doing at this point. And it's very unfortunate because he's mixing up money and government. And he's using government to make as much money as possible. And it's very sad for this country.
Now, with the healthcare in this country, what the new administration is going to do could potentially leave people high and dry. So the Democrats are trying to stop that. Do you think that they're making the righteous calls, or they should just vote?
Because I heard that the premiums are going to go up 30%. A 30% increase in premiums right now, where people are concerned about whether they're going to eat or not. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people, the only way they were able to afford health care is through Obamacare. Man, the Republicans are going to have a rude awakening, because if the Democrats are smart, they'll stop going far left. They'll start talking about kitchen table issues. And if they do that, they really can make some inroads this time. The Republicans are going to be in trouble.
So let's say you're Midwest in a red state, and right now you're extremely hungry because you didn't get your food stamps. Who do they blame?
They're starting to blame Trump. And they're starting to blame Trump because you can try to blame the Democrats all you want. But when you control the House, the Senate and the presidency, you can't point to the other side and say it's their fault. And there are some cracks. Look at what happens with Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of her constituents. They're complaining to her about this president causing this to happen. And a lot of people are starting to break with Trump. So I think that the Republican parties, as well as Donald Trump, that he'd be extremely careful with this.
Right. I saw something today I wanted to ask you about. I saw a video where ICE is randomly see a girl just walking down the street and say, "Hey, are you a citizen?" and then go after her. Does she have to respond under those random type of circumstances?
The government said there was a federal judge today that said that they don't have to. And thank God for that, because, man, I would hate to be placed in that situation, because I'm not trying to hear it. I'm not telling you, you don't need to know who I am. I'm a citizen. Leave me alone. Don't bother me. I'm going on my way. And see, that's the kind of stuff that we got to be careful about. It reminds people of the slave days and trying to defend the fact that you were a freedman, having to prove it. And I think those parallels can be drawn. And I think that's why in America, we need to be extremely careful. This man and this administration, they are overstepping bounds like we have not seen in our history. And I think there's going to be a high price to pay for it. Whether that be them losing an election or somebody getting hurt, there's going to be a price that's paid for it. That's why they need to be extremely careful about what they're doing, because a lot of Americans are not going to have that.
Mike Johnson says that the reason why the government is shut down is because the Democrats wants to pay for the health care of illegal immigrants. What say you?
I think that they're going to try to point to that part of whatever the arguments are. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like the Democrats holding on to that as one of their mantras. But I think honestly, I think people not eating are not going to really care about that. They're going to care and say, hey, do I have food this month? Can Mima buy her food? Because sometimes you have a relative, like an older relative, hey, that's how they make their money. That's how they buy their food every month. That little $120, $150 may be a way for them to go month to month. I think they're going to pay for that. But once again, I think the Democrats got to stop spending our money on people who are not citizens. They need to be very careful about that, because people are not having it. And I think that's part of the problem with the Democratic Party. They got to start paying attention to the regular voter, and they got to start putting American citizens first. And it's nothing against helping people. I'm not saying you don't have to give them anything. But at the end of the day, they better take care of the people that pay their taxes and they're the citizens here first, as opposed to just trying to take care of everybody else.
Okay. Did you see where J.D. Vance was doing debates at a college, pretty much in the place of Charlie Kirk?
I saw that. And that's another thing that I'm concerned about. They are trying to make people basically worship Charlie Kirk and all the bad stuff he said about people, that people should forget it. And it's very unfortunate that I had some people who I thought were okay. And I made a post and they came on talking about Charlie Kirk. And I said, listen, you don't get to be disrespectful to Dr. King. You don't get to be disrespectful to African-American women that are high achievers. And then have the expectation that people are going to care about what happens to you. People got to speak nice about you when something happens to you. Now, I don't wish anything bad on Mr. Kirk or anybody who I don't agree with. As a matter of fact, even if I think that somebody's racist, I don't want the worst for them. I'll just, whatever happens to them happens to them. But at the same time, I'm not going to cry a tear when that happens. And I'm not going to change the way I feel about what they said. You can't go around disrespecting people and call that somebody that should be a martyr. I even had somebody tell me, y'all taking what he said out of context. There's no context with it. You disrespected a Supreme Court justice who finished at the highest of her class as being a DEI hire. You said numerous things about really well accomplished and qualified African-American women. And people are not going to forget those things. So even though I feel bad for his wife and his family, that whatever happened to Mr. Kirk, people have to understand there's not going to be a lot of love coming from people when you talked about him that way.
It seems like Christian nationalists want their beliefs to become American law.
They do. And I'm going to even tell you this. There a lot of their beliefs are not biblical. A lot of the stuff that they do is against the Bible. But you try to tell them that, they'll try to bite your head off for it. But once again, they're trying to make their way of life and thought be the good law in America. And I don't think America's not having it. I mean, I don't think America's having it. I consider myself a religious person. But some of the stuff that the right is doing right now is downright diabolical when it comes to religion and the law.
Have you noticed that the MAGA movement has become synonymous with Christianity?
It has. And I'm gonna tell y'all this. There's actually been a fight about that as well. A lot of Christians or people who profess themselves as Christians, they're starting to fight back against the MAGA movement, and they're starting to fight back against that MAGA movement overtaking the Christian movement within itself. So I think coming up, especially with these elections, and especially with a culture right now, there's going to be a pushback of what the hijacking, I would say of what, but the hijacking of Christianity by the far right and the MAGA people.
Right. You know, speaking about Christianity and MAGA, Republicans or whatever, in the gospel, Jesus said, if your neighbor come to you and he's hungry, you know, you wouldn't give him a stone or what have you, whatever it says. So how could you be a Christian but have no problem with people not being able to eat?
And see, that's the problem I have. You know, I went to two religious institutions. Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas is Baptist. St. Mary's University School of Law, which is a Catholic law school. So I've been privately educated in church schools. And the things that we were taught at Howard Payne and at St. Mary's, the MAGA movement does not represent those things or a lot of those things. I think they represent some of those things, but a lot of it, like the stuff that you're mentioning, watching people not eat, being okay with people starving, not lending a hand to your brother in time of need. Those are not some of the things that I learned. And that's not a version of Christianity that I knew. And that's why a lot of people like myself and others, even within the Christian community, we're tired of the MAGAs hijacking Christianity and being the professors of the Lord and his ways. And I think it's going to come a time where that's going to be changed.
Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you what I've observed, right? Luigi Mangione kind of took the approach that, listen, they're taking advantage. Corporate America is really giving the shaft to the poor man. So I'm going to do something about it. And this is how the extremism is born. Do you think we're going to keep seeing a lot of that?
And see, that's the thing that I get concerned about. When you start sending and releasing ICE into cities and they start touching people and slamming people and doing stuff that they should not be doing, he's going to get some of those ICE agents hurt. And in turn, those ICE agents are going to be so on the verge and on the edge that they may hurt people as well. That's why I said there's a very, very dangerous game being played right now by this president and how he uses these ICE agents. And these ICE agents need to be careful when they're dealing with these citizens. They need to be respectful and they don't need to be grabbing and hurting folks. And because when you start doing that, people are going to go like, no, I understand what the law is, but the law's not protecting me. You're not going to slam me. I'm going to protect myself.
So as you know, I'm covering Luigi Mangione's case. And so when I went to the last hearing out on the street, a lot of teenagers, 15, 16-year-old, I'm like, why do you support the guy who literally shot a man in broad daylight? They say, oh, well, these big corporations, these health agencies, they allow people to die thousands a day from cancer. He kind of deserved what he got. Do you think this is an indication of where the younger generation is going?
They are. They see the greed. And you have to understand, you're reducing their access to money. You're reducing their access to education. You're reducing their access to health care. You're reducing their access to opportunity. And they're not going to sit idly by and just let it happen. That's why this country needs to be very careful. They think being cruel and inhumane to people is the way to go. But they're also teaching the young people to do the same thing. So they need to be extremely careful about what they're doing.
I think debate is good, and I think people are entitled to how they feel, but I don't think they should have hit Charlie Kirk with that bullet just because of his expressions.
No, man, that was wrong. And you know what I try to tell people? Man, I may not have been a supporter of Mr. Kirk, man, but I wouldn't want to see that happen to anybody. I'm a human being first. And I think that us in America, we got to remember that you're human. Somebody that we disagree with is not our enemy. They're just a fellow countryman who we disagree with. So I don't wish anything bad on Mr. Kirk. I didn't wish that to happen to him. And even though he said some things that were horrible towards some black people and horrible towards some brown people, I didn't really pay him much attention because I don't value his opinion when it comes to black and brown people. So I don't think that he deserved what he got. But once again, I'm not somebody who wishes the worst on the people who I disagree with. And that's a very, very unfortunate part. A lot of people in America, they've lost their humanity. And when they see something like what Mangione did, or they see something like that happened to Mr. Kirk, they feel good about it. And that's not what I would do. And that's not what I'm going to become. And I think we need to be careful in America that we all don't become that way.
You know, Section 8, that's what they're targeting along with food stamps, at least under Project 2025. They want to cut it down to 2 years. A lot of people associate Section 8 with black women. Any thoughts?
They need to be careful about that because there are a lot of Section 8 housing that go to white women and white Americans and brown folks. And there's a lot of Section 8 people, believe it or not. This is what people don't understand. I know some people on Section 8 that work full-time jobs that just don't make enough. And they get $300 to $400, $500 supplements so they can afford their rent and still pay the rest of their bills. They need to be very careful before they make them assumptions. And I think that poor people and even people in the middle need to pay attention. They're trying to limit that to 2 years so they can give these huge tax cuts to these millionaires and billionaires, and they're not going to put the money back in the economy. They're going to let you starve. They're going to work you harder, pay you less, and you still ain't going to be able to afford your rent and your food. I think people need to understand that, especially the average black, brown, and white American. Not just on party lines. They need to understand that these folks are playing money games with their futures.
You know, it came out during the time of Charlie Kirk's death that Israel was basically paying his company tons of money, 80 million allegedly, and offered even 150 million, tons of cash, right? So now we understand that money is a part of the talking points, perhaps. And then I see Floyd Mayweather over in Israel talking about how much he loves Israel. He can't live without Israel. Israel is the will of God. Any thoughts on that?
They got a lot of money, and you got a lot of people that have already sold their soul. So they'll sell their soul for another dollar. I think in America, there's too much money in politics. And I think what's happening is we continuously get people who go into office who have good intentions. But once they see the inside and they see the money, they get bad intentions. Or when they're running, the people on the insides realize that they're not corruptible and they make sure that they don't win. That probably is part of my case. I'll never sell my community out. I'll never sell people out. If I get elected to do a job in a position, I want to leave my community and my people in a better position than they were in before I came in. And I think in America, we need more people who feel that way and think that way. But there's so much money in politics. People get elected and they become part of the problem and making that problem even bigger than it was before.
I remember reading a newspaper article here in my local community. We have a Jewish community, and it said that they had received more food stamps or EBT or whatever you want to call it than 4 of the combined local counties all put together. Like, how could that be? Any comments?
They have a lot of people that struggle to make it to as well. And then when you think about it, a lot of their stores and businesses receive money from people who get those benefits. People need to start thinking about what they're doing. Even these folks that claim these people shouldn't be getting these benefits. What happens when they don't get the benefits and you own a piece of property that they pay rent to? What happens when they get these benefits and they don't get these benefits and your store is 50, 40, 30% EBT and you start losing your money? People really need to pay attention. That is not just the one domino that falls. One falls and the other ones fall into each other. And the next thing you know, nobody's on their feet. And so they need to be thinking about that when they start talking about that.
Okay, so let's switch up a little bit. Let's talk about the NBA gambling, the big conspiracy there. Do you think that Chauncey Billups will do prison time?
I don't know. I just somebody's saying that he just participated in some of these gambling games. I don't know if he threw any games, but I heard that he was being used to invite other professional athletes in so that they could get cheated out of their money. So I don't know. It just kind of depends. I don't think he'll do any federal time. I think he may have just got tied into it. But if he does do some time, it won't be no longer than 3 years. It'll be 1 to 3 years if he does. People like that who have no criminal history usually grade out pretty low, and he probably would.
If it was going to be a RICO case, would that have been announced already, or is it something that could come down the pipeline?
It could come down the pipeline later if they attach it together. But I think the government, if it was going to be a RICO, I think they would have came out as a RICO initially, as opposed to trying to make it a RICO later.
Okay. What about the other defendants? Do you think they're going to actually settle those cases, or you think we could potentially see some trials?
I think we could see some jail time. I think you're going to see some pleas, because I think that the way that they were doing things, all of the technology and the messaging and the connections between these people and some of the weird stuff around some of the people pulling themselves out of games, I think you can see some pleas, and I think you can see some prison time, but not a whole lot.
Okay. All right. Good. Before we check out, I know we're approaching that time. I just wanted you to take a few moments and explain something that was asked this week. When a person is pulled over for a DWI, is it wise to refuse or actually go through with the steps?
I think you should refuse them, because ultimately what people don't understand, I'll give you an example. Some people think that when you get pulled over and they have you walk the line and they do not have you do 9 steps and heel a toe and then walk back, that they think you're thinking that they're asking you to do 3 things, right? 3 or 4 things, right? No, man, they're giving you 10 instructions. They're saying, wait till I say start. When I say start, step up. So if I don't wait till you say start and I step up automatically, they count 2 points off. And they said, when I say go, I need you to take 9 steps heel to toe. And you say, what? How many steps? Oh, that's another clue. You can't remember it. So they're using these tricks along the field sobriety test to fail you. Even the average person who's sober is probably still going to fail, because you're out there on the side of a road. You're not used to getting 9 or 10 instructions in a row. Most people aren't anyway. I would just say, I want a lawyer. I'm not going to answer any more questions. I would take my right to counsel, and that's what I would do.
Okay. Another question I had for you, Brian Kohlberg, are you familiar with that case?
You would a little bit. Go
Okay.
over it. I think I remember the name rings a bell again.
He had took the lives, I think, of maybe 4 individuals out in Colorado, I believe, right?
Yeah.
He's I don't want to say the word, unalive them by means of a sharp point. We'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, I remember that now. I do, yes.
Yeah. They were able to trace him. He left 1 speck of blood on a sheath, I believe, but they were able to pin him down by using something like 23andMe. Is that like a new technology, new thing?
It is, because what you can do, sometimes you may not have the DNA of the person, but you can have DNA of their family members. So sometimes you can run, let's say, Mel, me and you are related, but I live on the East Coast, you live on the West Coast. I come to the East Coast and commit a crime and go back to the West Coast. You're a member of 23andMe and people know you and I are related. Or they put you go 2 months early and just give your DNA because you're trying to find your ancestors. And let's say they pull that DNA and like, wait a minute, we don't have the exact DNA, but we got a DNA, but we got somebody that's related to Mel. And you're like, hey, what's going on, Mel? Do you have some family members that fit this description? I didn't do anything. Have you had some family members come to this town lately? Yeah, my cousin Calvin. Calvin was in New York. Well, Calvin who? Calvin Johnson. They run my cell phone pings. Next thing you know, they got me related to you. They got my cell phone pings in New York, even though I'm back in California. But they're able to use enough to say, hey, let's get his cell phone records. And then that's how they can tie people together. So DNA is DNA. The 23andMe, sometimes it's not always a direct DNA. It comes up as siblings and relatives that you can actually use to be able to say, hey, somebody in my family has this DNA, and we can find them using that.
Now, in the case of Brian Kohberger, they used the father's DNA from the trash can at the end of the street, and that's how they were able to tie it to Brian Kohberger out here in Pennsylvania, the neighboring state to me.
You can do that because once you figure out something's in the trash can or they throw something away in the trash can, you no longer have a reasonable expectation of privacy of something that you're getting rid of because you have decided to discard it. And once you put your fingerprints on a trash can that is sitting on public property that can be picked up and be dumped, you basically release your rights to it, and they can use it to test, to be able to go in, to get warrants, and even possibly of convicting you, relatives of others of crimes.
And somehow or another, they were able to use the license plate off of the vehicle, and they were able to trace them on their trip because they drove all the way from Colorado all the way to Pennsylvania. How would they be able to know every little step of the way?
They got these things called flock cameras. There's a company out of Florida, and they got cameras on the majority of the interstates, the majority of the public roads, especially the larger public roads. A lot of the store entrances, let's say there's a shopping center with 8 stores in it. Flock typically gets cameras on the lights going into those stores because people want that information. If I'm a store owner and I got this group of people who came in and 5 cars and did 10 smash and grabs, and everybody left there with thousands of dollars of merchandise, and I've seen it happen, I'm going to be okay with the fly cameras being put up because then I'm going to be able to go, hey, these 10 cars passed this light. My cameras that were pointing out to the parking lot see these 10 cars pull off. I'm able to go get registration on who owns or runs those 10 cars. Then I can catch the person who did it. So most people don't understand. If you're watching the show, we try to give you information on what's happening in law enforcement right now. A lot of these public roads, a lot of these interstates, a lot of these state roads, a lot of these major intersections, especially retail intersections, have these things called flock cameras. These flock cameras randomly capture information. They randomly capture license plate information, as well as a lot of the law enforcement, including state troopers and local police and county police departments, are also capturing information at the same time. So between flock and these camera captures, they're able to track people from one side of the country all the way to another.
Okay. So here's the final question I'll have for you tonight. What would you tell a person that's currently enduring the shutdown? They're hungry and they don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. What would be your advice?
My advice is this. I got my family coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Hey, try to get with your local churches and food banks. Try to go in and get it done. And try to go in and next time vote for people, as my daughter. Try to go in and vote for people that are going to keep the government going. And once again, understand when you vote, you're not just voting on these social issues. You're voting your financial issues. And you got to start holding people accountable. But try to get with your local churches. Try to get with your community. And everybody as a community, we need to stick together through this shutdown so that we can help each other make it. That's what fellow countrymen do then, and that's what they should be doing now. Thanks, Mel. I appreciate it. And once again, we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.